Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. I think this must be the graveyard slot, so thank you again for staying till the very end. I feel a little bit out of my depth. I'm just a teacher who teaches English. Did something with Google last year with a group of Year 9 students, and then was amazed by how much they got out of it, how much I got out of it. So what I wanted to do is teach a book in a different way. I've been teaching for 15 years, 16 years, and I wanted to do a book that was different, challenging, would challenge the students and challenge me as an English teacher. So I decided to do The Road by Cormac McCarthy. I don't know if you know that book, but it's not an easy read. You might know the film, but it has issues, it has themes in there which are difficult, one of them being cannibalism, and that's just one of the lighter themes in the book. So it was a difficult book to do, and I was conscious that some of the students and some of the parents might have concerns about it. So the school I'm from, Wellington College, is 1,100 students, aged 13 to 18. It's co-educational, and I was teaching in a class of about 24. The 3 classes doing The Road. And one of the things I wanted to do is for them to basically apply for this position, to take part in this Google event, this Google project. And so they wrote letters, I interviewed them, we discussed why they wanted to take part in a Google project. I should say that I knew very little about Google tools. I'd used, obviously, search, I'd used YouTube, but I also wanted to learn from the students, also to learn from a teacher called Tom Barrett, who would work with us on this project, learn from Google as well, and explore this book in a different way. So instead of just using this book as a way of exploring it in a sort of flat text, critical analysis, I wanted the students to take ownership of it, to take control of it, to really explore it using all the things that Google tools can do. So I'm not going to speak for much longer. I'm going to hand over to 3 of the students. They're now in year 10, so they did this when they were 13. They're now 14, and I'm going to hand over to the students.
Our main aim in the project was to communicate ideas effectively and to take the themes from The Road, the book, and to put them across in a web page and to put across ideas and creative influences.
My main aim was to be able to convey my thoughts and feelings on a book in a creative way, but that was accessible to a lot of people, so not just in an essay format.
What I really want to achieve out of this project is to gain a great understanding of how I could improve my education using the Google tools provided.
So how do we achieve it? When we started, we were relatively inexperienced using Google products, having never really used it as anything other than a search engine. So we assigned ourselves parts of the book, which we became responsible for, and then set ourselves goals, so daily and weekly goals, which really helped us to progress and keep the project going. We went through a constant process of writing, rewriting, sharing, evaluating, creating, editing each other's work, which really helped us to collaborate on a project. And every time we edited our work or we shared it or commented on someone, we came up with a better outcome, and we ended up with a really professional product that we can be proud of.
I'd say the main challenges with this project was time management. Because if you're trying to create a project efficiently and professionally, while balancing your social life and academics, it's pretty difficult. But I think the great thing about Google is the simplicity of it, and because of this, I think we managed to get through it efficiently and just productively. So yeah.
My personal aim in the project was to combine both English and technology. I have real passion for English, and I really wanted to put that across in the webpage we created. So I used traditional English language, such as poetry, creative writing, and critical analysis. But I also used Google tools, such as Google Moderator, YouTube, and Picasa Photo, which I really enjoyed. I thought it created a much more three-dimensional aspect of the book and made it come to life. I especially enjoyed using Google Docs, which allowed us to collaborate together and learn from each other.
So the main impact for me has been during teamwork now. I no longer feel that I have to be in the same room as somebody to work on a project with them, and I don't even have to be in the same area. We can be hours apart and still using Google Docs and groups can still collaborate, and that's not going to affect the quality of the work that we produce.
I think that my learning is much more focused around technology and Google products now, and I also think that now I'm able to convey my ideas and thoughts more creatively and effectively.
I think the main thing I've taken away from this project is that how I can use these tools in my everyday work. Instead of handing just a piece of paper with writing on it, I can add in, I can make on Google Docs and share the ideas and just create something more interesting and interactive.
Good job.
Well, there is sound, and we'll just fix that very shortly.
Different Google tools to extend and transform their kind of experiences of the book.
As we went through the book, we would make notes on one document that everybody could see, and then people could edit that and put their ideas about that, and maybe put different quotes and then links to pages.
They're writing live in front of each other to an audience, and it changes. They become much more aware of how they're being seen.
We've used Google Documents as very much a central place for our ideas, where we knew what each other was doing because we could all access it. I use Google Forms to create a questionnaire, and this automatically turns into Google Docs into a spreadsheet, which I could use to create a graph. And whenever someone fills in the questionnaire, it automatically updates, which is really useful for me. We also used Google Plus, so then we could send messages to each other.
Using circles has been such a great way because you can really sort of narrow down who to talk to and what to talk about.
With such a big group of 14 of us, the collaboration would have been really hard without it.
The students are really leading the way and they're really showing us new applications to it, and that's how these products progress.
Without the Google products, I think the website would have been less interactive and less interesting to look at.
Through this project, they've been much more liberated in how they think about the products that are available online.
We had to design buildings, and we also edited film and put in effects. They've had a simple idea, but then they've really kind of extended and run with it.
It really, really helped us because it allowed us to have one place where we all knew what was going on, where we could all communicate.
I'll be delighted if they took what they've realised from these tools. There's so many different layers to these things, and also the ability to be creative using these tools.
So we've really just been using Google to create a different way of learning.
I want them to take that determined creativity into their next projects, and perhaps when they're looking at a book next time, they might think differently about how they might present their work.
Hi, can you hear me? So I just started at Wellington College this year, and I found myself in the great position and privilege of being able to stand in a classroom with these kids and to talk about literature. So I wanted to build on the work done by Google and David and create a classroom with 3 specific aims. One, that pupils are collaborating on written work, that they're not just writing in a vacuum. When I was at school, and I'm sure many of you here were at school, we wrote for an audience of 1, the teacher, and we often wrote in that way. I wanted to create a classroom where these guys were writing to an authentic audience and in front of their peers. The second aim was that they would be critically evaluating each other's work. And then the most important point was that they would then read each other's evaluation and then reflect upon that and then apply that new knowledge to their own work. So I want to just show you in 60 seconds a very specific example of how I do that. Google Groups is fantastic. If you've got your kids signed up for Google Documents, Google Groups is a place of sort of coalescing all that into one area where you can keep track of everything. So this is our class group. I've got different topics that correlate with different lessons and also anything else I want to post. So here's a task that I did on Hamlet where they had to write an essay on the use of language in the play. I'll post this, it'll get emailed to all students. I can then scaffold that with some videos, get them to look at a video, get them to read some critical analysis of the play before they write. Then they all post their work in the topic with a Google document. So as they're writing, they're actually looking and seeing what their peers are doing. At that point then they will, so here's a little example of how they're using the comment function in Google Docs to really provide some basic stuff at this stage on punctuation. When they've done that, I'll then use Google Forms to send out to the whole class 5 things to specifically look at. So things like use of introduction, paragraphs, use of quotations, analysis of form, structure, and language. That all gets fed back into a spreadsheet that I have. Then I will publish that back on the groups and get them to look and see everybody else's work and everybody else's evaluation of each work. And as you can see here, some of the feedback is really, really effective. This is not mine, this is the students. And it's improved their writing dramatically. And that's that. Any questions for any of us? Okay, thanks.